Hello everyone, Michael Voris here from the Michael Voris Show here at Church Militant. We're bringing this little review of something to you live because it is a massively important turn of events that happened yesterday on Capitol Hill when U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, who never got his vote before the Supreme Court and was replaced or filled in for by a Catholic judge, seems to be taking out his anti-Catholic animus now. He got grilled at a Senate committee hearing yesterday by the senator, the junior senator, Josh Hawley from the great state of Missouri. We'd like to show you this because it bears on us directly here at Church Militant, and it's about this FBI report that came out. This just keeps coming up. Thank God the conservatives on Capitol Hill aren't letting go of this. So Merrick Garland was called to task on this yesterday afternoon. So we'd like to show you part of those hearings, that hearing and the exchange between the two of them, and then we'll make some comments on it in between. So guys, go ahead and roll the first part.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Garland, let me just ask you, does your department have a problem with anti-Catholic bias?
Our department protects all religions and all ideologies. It does not have any bias against any religion of any kind.
Well, you could have surprised me, because given the resources that you are expending and the apparently intelligence assets that you are deploying against Catholics, it appears, and other people of faith, while simultaneously turning a blind eye while people are executed gang style in the streets of our cities, including in my home state, your answer frankly surprises me. Let's talk about the Houck case, for example. You've been asked about this already today, and frankly, your answers really astound me. This is a case where a Catholic pro-life demonstrator, father, was accused of disorderly conduct in front of an abortion center. The local prosecutor, the Philadelphia district attorney, who is a Democrat, a liberal, very progressive, declined to prosecute. There was a private suit that got dismissed. And then after all of that, your Justice Department sent between 20 and 30 armed agents in the early morning hours to the Houck's private residence to arrest this guy after he had offered to turn himself in voluntarily. Here's the photo. Once again, you can see the long guns, you can see the ballistic shields, you can see that they're wearing bulletproof vests. Why did the Justice Department do this? Why did you send 20 to 30 SWAT-style agents and a SWAT-style team to this guy's house when everybody else had declined to prosecute and he'd offered to turn himself in?
Determinations of how to make arrests under arrest warrants are made based by the tactical operators in the district. They are not.
But you surely looked into it by this point, right? You know the answer. Surely.
All I know is what the FBI has said, which is that they made decisions on the ground as to what was safest and easiest. So they do not agree with your description of what happened on the scene.
You don't agree with my description. I'm pointing out what the photo is. There are agents here who have long guns and ballistic shields. Let's take a look at the hardened criminals that your Justice Department sent these armed agents to go terrorize on that morning. Here they are. Here they are at Mass. Here's the 7 children with Mr. Houck and his wife. In this early morning, they were all at home. Mrs. Houck has said repeatedly the children were screaming. They feared for their lives. You got these agents demanding that he come out. They've got the guns, she said, pointing at the house and at them. He has offered to turn himself in. And this is who you go to terrorize. What's really interesting to me is this seems to directly contradict your own memorandum about the use of force at the Justice Department. You say officers may use only the force that is objectively reasonable to effectively control an incident. Are you telling me that in your opinion as Attorney General, it was objectively necessary to use 20 or 30 SWAT-style agents with long guns and ballistic shields for these people?
What I'm saying is that decisions about how to go about this were made on the ground by FBI agents.
So you're saying you don't know?
I'm saying what I just said,
which is that you're abdicating responsibility?
I'm not abdicating
Then
responsibility.
give me the answer. Do you think, in your opinion, you are the Attorney General of the United States? You are in charge of the Justice Department, and yes, sir, you are responsible. So give me an answer.
The FBI does not agree with your description.
I'm not asking about the FBI. You are the Attorney General. Give me your answer. Do you think that it was objectively reasonable and they followed your guidelines in sending 20 to 30 armed agents to terrorize these people? Yes or no?
The facts I have, which are those presented by the FBI, are not consistent with your description.
So you think it was reasonable?
I'm saying the facts are not as you describe.
What, that the children weren't there? That there weren't long guns there? That there weren't agents? What do you dispute? What's the factual premise you dispute? Be
FBI
specific.
said they don't agree with your description of...
Be specific. They don't agree with what?
Of how many agents, of the agents who were there, and of what their roles were. They don't agree.
Do you know the
That's all I can
jury
say.
in this case acquitted Mr. Houck? As I'm sure you're aware. Do you know how long it took him?
I am aware, and we respect the decision of the jury.
Do you know how long it took him?
I don't know.
1 hour. 1 hour. Philadelphia District.
All right, so a couple of things here, because this is sort of a two-part question. The FBI report itself comes up in the second part of this question, but reviewing that Houck case, which we covered quite extensively here at Church Militant, and Mark Houck is an extraordinarily good Catholic, and the basis for the case, that whole thing is he was out there just in front of the child killing center. He had his young son with him, and by young I don't mean 17, I mean a young boy, a little boy, and one of the child butcher friends came out, and Mark Houck, was like, you get away from my child, and he just pushed him back, and the guy fell down, of course, turned into a whole drama thing. And when all of those facts came out, you heard Senator Hawley there say, nope, this has nothing to do with anything. There's nothing really here to prosecute. We're not going to prosecute anything. Civil suit. There's nothing there. Talk about a nothing burger. Absolutely nothing. What father isn't going to protect his little boy from some, crazed, child killing idiot? So that was the whole case. So that brings the question, and that's why this whole line of questioning is happening here, because he's saying to him, why would you do this? He offered to turn himself in. First of all, for what? It's that whole FACE Act that Clinton and the Obamas and that whole crowd put together, the freedom of access to clinic entrances thing. It's like, you can walk into Auschwitz and not be bothered as you're going to go kill people. So that's the whole basis of that. Mark Houck, again, Catholic. Stacey Langton down in Virginia with the Loudoun County School Board and all that Fairfax County stuff going on that started the whole, what's going on in the schools. Catholics. Many of these major things we see the administration under Catholic Joe Biden responding to are being responded to against Catholics. And all of those were the things that began to feed into this FBI report, where we are specifically named. I'll read the relevant line to you. Illustrative of this, meaning that we're all white nationalists and extremists and terrorists or domestic terrorists or whatever the verbiage is. Illustrative of this has been the increasing collaboration of the far-right Catholic media outlet Church Militant and its activist wing, the Resistance Network. There's two parts to this. The report on the back page of the report is just a list that's cut and pasted and put into appendix from the Southern Poverty Law Center, which we're designated hate group too. But in the body of the report, and this is what matters, the appendix doesn't really mean that much, except that it shows that it's the SPLC, again, who have us listed as a hate group. But inside the body of the report, Church Militant, named, right-wing media outlet named, directly named. So that's the background now as we go look at this next thing. We're obviously Catholic. So let's look at the rest of this grilling. I mean, you got Josh Hawley for Pope, man. And he's not even Catholic, but can you make an exception? Does Pope have to be Catholic? We all know the answer to that perhaps right now. But anyway, roll the tape on this, guys, and let's pick up from that point because we're getting into this now.
Attorney declines to prosecute. The private suit's dismissed. You use an unbelievable show of force with guns that I just note liberals usually decry. We're supposed to hate long guns and assault-style weapons. You're happy to deploy them against Catholics and innocent children. Happy to. And then you haul him into court and a jury acquits him in 1 hour. I just suggest to you that that is a disgraceful performance by your Justice Department and a disgraceful use of resources. I notice a pattern, though. The FBI field office in Richmond, on the 23rd of January of this year, issued a memorandum in which they advocated for, and I quote, the exploration of new avenues for tripwire and source development against traditionalist Catholics, it's their language, including those who favor the Latin Mass. Attorney General, are you cultivating sources and spies in Latin Mass parishes and other Catholic parishes around the country?
No, the Justice Department does not do that. It does not do investigations based on religion. I saw the document you have.
What did you do about it?
It's appalling. It's appalling. I'm in complete agreement with you. I understand that the FBI has withdrawn it and is now looking into how this could ever have happened.
How did it happen?
That's what they're looking into. But I'm totally in agreement with you. That document is appalling.
I'll tell you how it happened. This memorandum, which is supposed to be intelligent, cites extensively the Southern Poverty Law Center, which goes on to identify all of these different Catholics as being part of hate groups. Is this how the FBI, under your direction and leadership, is this how they do their intelligence work? They look at left-wing advocacy groups to target Catholics? Is this what's going on? I mean, clearly it is. How is this happening?
The FBI is not targeting Catholics, and as I've said, this is an inappropriate memorandum, and it doesn't reflect the methods that the FBI is supposed to be using. Should not be relying on any single or.
All right, let's talk about that. There's only about 30 seconds or so left, but I want to interrupt it there and say, you know, there must be an environment in the FBI. Certainly in the Richmond field office there is. And remember that that doesn't come up in this particular grilling by Senator Hawley. But once this report was made, it was then fed out into the entire FBI's server network. Every field office in the country had this. That's why they're saying they're taking it off the servers, supposedly. They're taking it off so that all these other offices, FBI field offices around the country, don't have access to it and don't conduct investigations based on this as research and all of that. But look, there must be some kind of anti-Catholic environment, an acceptance level of let's treat some of these Catholics with disdain. There must be that for an agent, at least one or more, to have sat down and conspired to make this document. And this is it right here. So we got in our hands right here. That they conspired to make it. They must have been given direction to do it, or at some point they took it to the director, whoever their particular director is there in the Richmond field office. He would have looked at it, or she signed off on it, approved it, and said, okay, feed it into the system, guys. This would still be sitting on the system, would still be the sort of FBI talking point had it not been leaked and gotten out to the press and then they got egg on their face. So this idea of Merrick Garland sitting there saying, oh, this is appalling. This isn't our standards. Oh, we don't know how this possibly could have happened. Well, folks in that Richmond field office not only knew how it could happen, it happened. It happened at their direction. They did it. They produced it. So it's a little disingenuous for the Attorney General of the United States, again, who, remember, Obama had, in front of you may not know that history or forgotten about it, Obama nominated him to be fill the Supreme Court seat of Scalia. And it didn't turn out that way. At the time, Mitch McConnell was over there in the Senate. He said, nope, we're not going to do it. It was wait until the election, and everything happened. And Merrick Garland never got a hearing. That stuck in the craw of the Democrats forever. This man is a vengeful, and the people that replaced him were essentially, well, not quite, they're two of the three. When Trump came in, two of the three were Catholic. Last one being Amy Coney Barrett. Of course, the Brett Kavanaugh, disasters, hearings and all of that, and then Neil Gorsuch. So those are the three that Trump put in place. But as we watch here, I mean, he has always had this thing. Merrick Garland has always had this thing that he should have been on the U.S. Supreme Court. And it was those damn Catholics that took it away, and they took me of my birthright or whatever here. This man is the Attorney General of the United States of America. He doesn't get to say, well, I don't know how to, I just disagree with the report. Are you going to fire someone, AG? How long does it take? I mean, how many people work in the Richmond office that it takes weeks to figure out how this report got made? Who signed off on it? Who approved it in the thing? How come none of the other any of the other offices, the field offices around the country, how come none of them objected to it? Don't tell me, you think this is appalling. The entire FBI on the leadership level has an anti-Catholic bias to it. It's clear as a bell. And for them to sit there and pretend, only because it got leaked, now all of a sudden it's this huge transgression. This is evil. I'm telling you, Catholics, you need to understand the war that we're in right now. You need to understand the stakes that are at play here. The United States government, because it has been allowed to be corrupted by horrible bishops who've supported these Democrat, fake, phony Catholics, have step by step installed this thing in. They are coming after us meaning all, but here we are specifically named. Church militant. This is their goal. They're attacking parents at school board meetings. They're calling them domestic terrorists. They produced a report a few months into Biden's administration identifying the white race essentially as like the biggest threat in America. Meanwhile, there's people pouring across the border by the millions, and criminals and drug dealers and child sex traffickers, and somehow white domestic terrorists who happen to go to school board meetings because they don't want their kids learning how to masturbate when they're 7 years old. That's Merrick Garland's, U.S. Justice Department. Let's finish up here with the last remaining few seconds of the testimony.
Organization without doing its own work.
Let me just ask you, as my time expires here, a very direct question. How many informants do you have in Catholic churches across America?
I don't know, and I don't believe we have any informants aimed at Catholic churches. We have a rule against investigations based on First Amendment activity, and Catholic churches are obviously First Amendment activity. But I don't know a specific answer to your question.
You don't know the specifics of anything, it seems, but apparently on your watch, this Justice Department is targeting Catholics, targeting people of faith, specifically for their faith views. And Mr. Attorney General, I'll just say to you, it's a disgrace.
Boy, that's a kind word. Thank you again, Senator Hawley, from all of us here at Church Militant, all faithful Catholics all over the country. Thank you for going to bat for us with this. The idea. Did you notice how Merrick Garland kind of weaseled? He goes, "Well, I don't know. I mean, how many?" I asked him point blank question. How many agents do you have? Penetrating Catholic parishes and Latin mass parishes to find out whatever intel you think is going on there or something. He goes, "Well, I don't know the specific." Whoa. What do you mean you know the specifics? You just said that your answer, the only acceptable answer to that question, if the other stuff you said is true, the only acceptable answer to that would be there are none, Mr. Senator, there are none. We don't do this, there are none. For him to say, well, I don't have specifics and I don't really know, but we protect First Amendment. No, you don't. No, you don't. Your entire administration, your entire party is the party of death and destruction. And thank God for Senator Hawley there for, putting his feet to the fire. Catholics, you better wake up. You had better wake up and understand what's going on. This isn't just nice little quiet 1950s and we have little disputes. You better understand the stakes here. You really think these guys remaining in power are not going to come after you? Church Militant, and a far-right Catholic media outlet. So you're never just right. It's always far-right extremists. And this memo circulated through the entire bloodstream of the Federal Bureau of Investigation under the Department of Justice, under that man, until it was leaked, and then they had to backtrack it. That was not this is bad. And you just heard the Attorney General of the United States say he can't specifically say under oath. I mean, these hearings are under oath. So for him to say, well, I can't be specific about how many agents there may be infiltrating Catholic parishes, come on. Got to wake up, Catholics. Got to wake up. All right, that's it for now. We're going to be returning. We'll be on this story, following this story. We've been in touch with Senator Hawley's office, and when all of that comes to fruition, we'll have more for you. In the meantime, thanks very much for tuning in. God love you.